In the vast world of global literature, there are countless classic works, yet few books have the power to influence the course of an era's history. Among them, the novel Uncle Tom's Cabin by American writer Harriet Beecher Stowe stands out as one of the most profoundly impactful masterpieces. In the 19th century, it was the best-selling book, translated into dozens of languages, and it sparked an abolitionist wave across the United States. The first time I read this book, I saw the tragic and turbulent life of Uncle Tom, and I felt a deep sorrow for the oppressed fate of African Americans in the southern United States. I also clearly heard a voice exposing the dark crimes of slavery. However, upon reading it a second time, I discovered an additional layer of meaning, a life philosophy embedded beneath the novel's political theme. Therefore, in today's video, Rise Up would like to share with you this profound philosophy conveyed through the classic novel Uncle Tom's Cabin, hoping that it will leave you with much to reflect upon and help you draw lessons on the wisdom of survival in life, enabling you to live with true courage and happiness in the best possible state. Now let's begin with today's shared content. Superiority is like underwear. It cannot be flaunted openly. A truly strong person will never act as if they are better than others. A noble life doesn't need to be adorned with a sense of superiority. In life, there are people who cannot help but rely on this sense of superiority to build an invisible status, believing that it makes them appear more refined, more capable, and above others. On the other hand, there are also those who always receive genuine respect from those around them due to their humility and sense of equality. When you read this novel, you will realize that all forms of superiority do not come from appearance, knowledge, family background, wealth, status, achievements, or power. Rather, they stem from ignorance and a heart that feels inadequate. The story begins in the 19th century, before the American Civil War. The southern United States was mainly ruled by whites, while people of color became a source of cheap labor, primarily working on cotton plantations. The main character, Uncle Tom, is a black man who must survive in this harsh and oppressive environment, enduring many trials. At a slave auction, Uncle Tom is sold to a plantation owner named Simon Legree, an extremely cruel man. Like all white slave owners or those profiting from the slave trade, Simon views human beings as mere commodities, tools for generating profit. One cotton harvest day, to prevent black slaves from being idle, Simon promotes two other black men, Sambo and Quimbo, to overseers in charge of the other slaves. One would think that sharing the same race and skin color would make them empathize with each other's circumstances. However, unexpectedly, Sambo and Quimbo, once given a little power, develop a strong sense of superiority. They exploit their authority to display this superiority by whipping anyone who fails to pick enough cotton, tormenting those they dislike, or forcing newly arrived, attractive black women to become theirs, regardless of whether it destroys her happiness or family. Sambo and Quimbo behave as if they are the true rulers of the plantation, exerting brutal control over the other black people. A French writer, diplomat, and politician once said, "One cannot look at others with hatred and contempt, and at the same time display their own superiority." In fact, as psychologist Alfred Adler points out in his classic book, Understanding Human Nature, studying the influence of confidence and superiority on one's life happiness, the sense of superiority is a yearning for an ideal version of oneself, an emotional experience one gains after achieving this ideal. Moreover, the sense of superiority only arises when a person has endured inferiority, then strives wholeheartedly to gain an upper hand over others. This process merely seeks to affirm their own existence in the world. In other words, the feeling of superiority is rooted in deficiency, inferiority, and is something everyone possesses. Sambo and Quimbo, originally slaves themselves, developed a sense of superiority when promoted to overseers. You might feel superior if you rank first in class, receive a top employee award, have a beautiful partner, or simply live in a city and feel superior to those from rural areas. People with high levels of education may feel they are above those with less. High earners may feel superior to low earners, and attractive people may feel superior to those with average looks. It's understandable that a sense of superiority arises, given that humans are physical beings living in a materialistic society. However, it becomes problematic when people try to demonstrate their superiority at any cost, needing others to see it in order to experience their own worth. In relationships, this might manifest as boasting or comparing oneself to others. Houses, cars, spouses, children's academic achievements. In the workplace, it might show as veteran employees bullying newcomers, or it might appear as school bullying, friend isolation, or rivalry in achievements. Some people even express superiority under the guise of morality, saying things like, "We've been friends for years, and you can't even do this small thing for me?" Or, "You're rich. What harm is there in lending me a bit of money?" Some people seem extraordinarily confident for no particular reason, always looking down from above. In reality, the sense of superiority is like underwear. The more you flaunt it, the more it offends others. We need to understand that the more someone lacks, the more they feel the need to flaunt, the more they need validation, and the more they need to prove their value. In psychology, there's a phenomenon called the Dunning-Kruger effect, which refers to an overestimation of one's abilities. Most people tend to rate their own abilities higher than they actually are. This is also true for Sambo and Quimbo. In the eyes of the plantation owner, they were nothing more than pawns, tools to be exploited. If better candidates for overseers emerged, they would surely be discarded without hesitation. Ultimately, all senses of superiority are merely distorted mindsets. Only those with shallow, superficial minds believe that traveling widely, dining in upscale restaurants, knowing powerful people, having advanced degrees, or coming from wealthy families elevates them above others. As Oscar Wilde aptly put it, pride is simply self-esteem standing on its head. The more one tries to prove oneself, the narrower the path of life becomes. Uncle Tom's second owner is Augustine's saint, Claire. Unlike most cruel plantation owners, Augustine does not discriminate against Black people, but his wife Marie is the complete opposite. Coming from a wealthy family with a happy marriage and numerous servants, Marie should be the most comfortable person in the manor. However, she constantly sighs and complains that no one around her truly cares about her. This is because she habitually values her own sense of superiority by putting others down to elevate herself. On the one hand, she enjoys the comforts that the unjust system of slavery provides. On the other hand, she considers herself the savior of Black people, believing that without her supervision, slaves would be doomed. After getting married, she went to great lengths to separate her Black maid's family to ensure the maid's undivided service. Marie's favorite pastime was keeping her servants awake all night, then lamenting about her headaches and demanding everyone's attention. But one day, because the maid overslept and failed to notice her headache in time, Marie flew into a rage, accusing the maid of selfishness, claiming that this was a result of her own excessive leniency towards Black people. When Augustine suggested that she empathize with the maid's situation and stop breaking up her family, Marie sneered. "A Black person could never have emotions as rich as mine." However, in the eyes of others, the truly selfish, insensitive, hypocritical person, incapable of caring for anyone but herself, was Marie. Over time, her husband saw through her and no longer wanted to take her complaints seriously. The servants, accustomed to Marie's unreasonable demands, began to serve her perfunctorily. Thus, Marie found herself trapped in her sense of superiority, gradually becoming like an isolated island in the world. In real life, we often encounter people much like Marie. On social media, many get caught up in a virtual lifestyle, eager to display every aspect of their lives. You'll notice that people with a strong superiority complex often have conversations that are filled with I and scarcely any you, as they constantly seek to redirect the focus back onto themselves. Those who love showcasing their superiority have a distinct pattern in social or intimate relationships. They deny everything about the other person, focus on their flaws, often criticize or humiliate them, and seize every opportunity to flaunt their own strengths. They also go to great lengths to conceal their weaknesses. But because they do not see, or refuse to see, their own shortcomings, they can never truly grow in life. People with a strong sense of superiority often lack empathy and cannot put themselves in others' shoes. In reality, superiority never truly brings them satisfaction because they aren't pursuing genuine excellence. They are simply trying to prove they're better than others. Therefore, their instinct is to praise themselves and believe others cannot measure up, which leads to habitual self-satisfaction and arrogance. However, they don't realize that gilding themselves only blinds others rather than bringing warmth. Only when one restrains their superiority complex and views others and life with an equal heart can they earn genuine respect and sincere treatment from those around them. At that point, the road of life truly opens up, and their life becomes authentic. The highest strength of a person is to look down without arrogance and look up without shame. According to the character Marie, only force can tame all the black people on the plantation. Augustine visits his brother's estate and sees his brother chasing a black man who has escaped. This slave, named Cassie, has a fierce longing for freedom. He is tall, extremely strong, and single-handedly fought off the overseers attempting to subdue him by force before escaping. Furious, Augustine's brother orders his men and hunting dogs to capture Cassie, but Cassie resists with all his might, and no one can approach him until he is finally shot and injured. To prevent the men from killing Cassie unjustly, Augustine steps in to protect him and claims Cassie as his own slave. Augustine purchases Cassie from his brother, brings him back, prepares a comfortable bed, dresses his wounds, and personally cares for him. Once Cassie has fully recovered, Augustine signs a certificate of freedom, allowing him to go wherever he wishes. But surprisingly, Cassie, who had tried to escape so many times before, tears up the certificate and declares that he does not want to leave Augustine. Even when his master later falls gravely ill, Cassie remains by Augustine's side without fear, caring for him until his last breath. In truth, Augustine neither held a high position nor had more wealth than his brother, yet he earned Cassie's sincere loyalty. This was because Augustine let go of his sense of superiority and treated someone beneath him with genuine equality. In relationships, if you ever wonder whether you should deepen your connection with someone, observe how they treat those less fortunate than themselves. Admiring the strong may be human nature, but not everyone can show compassion and equality toward those weaker than them. When a person has walked 1,000 miles, read 1,000 books, and approaches the world with humility, they will become aware of their own smallness and understand that every achievement and every glory is only temporary. By lowering the desire to prove oneself, one can accumulate true strength. As Einstein once said, when you look down on someone, you are very close to failure, but when you respect someone, success is not far off. The greatest achievement and the highest strength in a person come when they stand above others, yet maintain humility and can restrain their sense of superiority. Uncle Tom's Cabin is more than an anti-slavery novel. It offers a philosophy of survival, unmasking human nature. In the book, when Augustine responds to his wife's criticisms of the servants, he says, "If we were in their position, we might not do as well as they do." It's true. Many times when you subconsciously display superiority, it may stem from a lack of confidence, a need for self-protection. Each time you face the world, you might put on armor, whether it's degrees, titles, family background, wealth, and so on. This sense of superiority becomes an invisible shield. Sometimes this feeling isn't even fully conscious. You may just want others to admire or acknowledge you, so you layer yourself with ornaments. These might be material possessions, reputation, achievements, or circumstances. But the more dazzling these ornaments become, the harder it is to see yourself clearly. Over time, even you might lose sight of who you really are. How can you expect sincerity from others if you can't be honest with yourself? When you notice this feeling of superiority rising, try to ask yourself, what triggered this feeling in me? Am I craving praise or recognition? Do I find myself criticizing, belittling, or focusing on others' flaws? Am I trying to make someone submit to my will? And don't think that the critique of an unjust society in Uncle Tom's Cabin is far removed from your life. From Uncle Tom's Cabin to Kill a Mockingbird, injustice stems from the sense of superiority felt by some. And even today, discrimination based on race, wealth, beauty, body type, or ability persists. This continues because each of us may be to some extent pursuing or harboring a sense of superiority. When you approach life with an equal heart, looking down without arrogance and looking up without shame, without boasting to others, you'll find that everyone is fundamentally the same, that all things are interconnected. Within you, feelings of superiority won't arise, and you won't crave standing at the top or disdain those lower down. Whatever your circumstances, you won't be caught between inferiority and superiority. This is the best state for a truly exceptional person, a true strength of character. Moreover, remember that only when you find balance will the world reflect that fairness back to you. As American psychologist Daniel Goleman wrote in Emotional Intelligence, the extent to which you make others feel comfortable will determine the height you can reach. So, my last message to all of you in today's video: may we all let go of our sense of superiority, shed this invisible armor and all the external jewelry of pride, and approach others with the same sincere heart we bring to ourselves. Thank you for listening. If you found this video helpful, please share it with those who might benefit, give me a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for the latest content. Thank you again, and see you in the next video.